francs, when about 7,000 at Salonia. So
10,000 francs, 7,000. No, do the conversion again. I come again a few days ago.
This now yesterday cost at the tell you, but Liberia, for example, they own a $5.66 when I in the own Liberian dollar. Wait to make we own a 15,000 at Salon. If you want for compare the price to the whole of Africa, let me just level and first to the Mano River Union.
Low count to Guinea we could so. Now last week at the Guinea.
Then in a last week, now yesterday you
expensive as last week.
Now yesterday you cost I just put so.
Now they tell you so.
Me they put yesterday. Yesterday and last week price.
Last week now between 16 to 17,000 converted. I mean they now me buy out not to Google or reader, not to anybody.
This yesterday
is participants of the
they tell you so. Yesterday.
Yeah, so Guinea not cheap pass away. Let's get that one day.
Mr. Minister, they tell you say Guinea fuel currently for liter cheap past Salonian. Why you think say you own facts for oversee me own? When myself gets a reliable information from Guinea. Because somebody did the way, if you want, we can call and compare.
No, not somebody. Google, like, do exchange rate.
I don't need for Google, Mr. Minister.
Right. When you look at the fuel price now, Salon, it's higher than the 4 countries that will get in West Africa. Guinea, in particular, before the junta administration, have been 11,000 francs for liter. But the junta government makes sure they reduce that to 10,000 francs. So that was very, very good. Liberia, the liter.
And that I stated earlier.
That you stated earlier. Liberia, the same thing. If you look at in terms of dollar rates, we are about $1.30. Liberia, now $1.20. You understand? Meaning that we get the highest. Okay, governments, they say the crisis, of course, except who are blind or reluctant to accept the fact. But it's clear that the crisis now Ukraine don't really affect the prices of but
yes, subscribe. You always the watch we program them, but you not subscribe it to the channel. All what you get for do, press this red subscribe button, and then you come over here and press this bell. So the bell option, press this one with all. And don't done. And not get for cost you anything. When you do this, now sign for show say you the support we for make we do more. Thank you for we do every for share this program. Yeah, God bless
you. Today na the program Good Morning Salon this Tuesday edition, we can look at different public interest issue them we don't they happen this BNTM. As they range from transportation challenge where people get fuel and safe. The one way, now the major one way they boil down to the livelihood, how people they find them forget their daily bread. And especially so, but the fuel increase will be happen this BNTM. And at the studio this morning, for can look at this, I want to welcome with studio guest them. We get Marcus Bangura, the Executive Director for Citizens Forum for Democratic Accountability. Good morning and welcome to the program Good Morning Salon.
Good morning and thank you for having me.
And also for response to the concerns we go for come up, especially waiting on the happen the current situation. Like I say earlier, we get for do with public interest issues them where they come up this BNTM. We get the Minister of Information and Communication at the studio, Mohammed Rahman Sware, where they can talk about waiting governments don't they put in place when sure say then look inside the concerns them where they come up from the public. Good morning, welcome to the program.
Morning, family on the morning. Good to be here.
All right, we'll come back to you, Mr. Minister. I'll go over to Marcus Bangura, winner the Executive Director for Citizens Forum for Democratic Accountability, where they own focus now for ensure say the whole government to account for the social contract where governments can get with people after elections. This is a young civil society organization we done they operate for the past 2 years, and they don't raise concern of national interest. The most recent one where they been do now after where the fuel price been go to 15,000 outside and they call on government for ensure they reduce them, because according to them when at the Citizens Forum for Democratic Accountability, government gets ways and means them where they go able for reduce that price they for people them? Well, as a whole, we can look at the fuel issue itself. But Marcus, as I said, I start with you. Just start for describe first. Apart from the fuel, all other issues of public interest, whether they come up this BNTM, we get for do with transportation, the fuel itself, one of the talkbacks, and the livelihood. How you would describe the current situation with Sierra Leoneans them they face?
Thank you very much for getting me here this morning for discuss that particular issue there, because it's very, very important, because every society, one of the greatest concern is about the livelihoods of the people in that particular country there. And as it is now, I want to categorically say the livelihood situation is deplorable, extremely deplorable because of several factors. And we, Citizens Forum for Democratic Accountability, we focus on various areas. The accountability itself covers almost every aspect. We're not only limited to democratic accountability, we also look at service delivery, effective service delivery. We also look at national cohesion and human rights itself. So as a result of that, whenever there is the increment of prices in fuel, it gets the tendency to affect every aspect of the lives of the people. Because one, if we take into consideration the fact, say, most businesses depends on fuel. Plenty of businesses that they do, especially for the common man, who they talk about microeconomics, small businesses then, through which way people they survive, depends on fuel. So the increment of fuel, they make we, now C4D, for short, they decide for do the press release. Now, make we look at them in a very, very broad perspective. Fuel, of course, we're very mindful, say, there is a crisis internationally, we affect the fuel price. But we also hold the view, say, the government get capacity for lower the prices of fuel. Because one, we look at the price per barrel presently internationally, make we say the price for barrel be between $105 to $108. When you look at one barrel comprises of 42 gallons and 159 liters. Now, if you convert the price of fuel, now saloon, when at 15,000, is about $1.3. That is $1.30. If you look at that, if you calculate that into 159 liters, you get over $200, right? Around $208. So, if they buy fuel at $105 per barrel, which comprises of 159 liters, then the price so high, if you find out say like 8 to 8, right? We get for look at the situation of Sierra Leoneans. This particular increment in fuel now added burden to the already existing hardship where the people of Sierra Leone don't experience.
So to your estimation, as you don't give the barrel price, what's in our estimation of fuel price are we for dinner saloon at the moment as it did 15,000 now?
The fuel price at the moment, make we say because of the crisis, now 12,000 leones. If we did like 12,000 leones, because if you look at 1 liter, almost governments they get per liter. Governments they get almost about 7,000 per liter. You understand? The fuel dealers then they get about 8,000. Right? And when you look at that, you do that kind of assessment day. Of course, we know say government for generate revenue. And the new direction manifesto, where you look at one of the focus of government, right? Now for make sure say they increase the domestic revenue rates, you understand? And in doing so, you get to look at the livelihoods of the people there. But we say that government increased well without a speck of magnanimity to the people of Sierra Leone. You will agree with me, say, prior to this time, the people of Sierra Leone been known to face hardship to a very large extent. So the fuel price, government can afford. If you look at the SLPP itself, you look at the manifesto, one of the things, for example, the manifesto itself, the forward where the presidents make, you see, they see the word suffering masses, right? About 3 times being repeated in that particular forward day where the president's been do on the manifesto. When about 223 words, but you see the express side, you see the emphasis, meaning that the government agenda, right, now before focus on changing Sierra Leone. You understand the transformation of Sierra Leone.
So for that agenda, they will explain, but so inside the past 4 years, they're not on the work towards that agenda, day.
we no go say the government don't work towards that. The government don't work towards that. But what is important is the fact that governments don't do very little for salvage the situation prior to the government coming to power, right? The government, the president himself, whilst in opposition, say he go far and wide in young talk. You see the suffering of the masses, people, the suffering of the masses. You understand? We do a nationwide tour. So it was out of that they decided to do the manifestation, the manifesto, because of then do consultation as well. So when you look at that, the government shifts blame on the former government, which was very good. That because of misappropriation of funds, because of mismanagement of resources and all that, being therefore make saloon people in the suffer. The president emphasized, whilst in opposition, say that Sierra Leone is endowed with a lot and lots of resources, and that they get the capacity for transform the situation. But being as it is at the moment, we have not seen that. If you look at Sierra Leone now, Sierra Leone is one of the hungriest countries in the world. Sierra Leone is one of the 10th hungriest countries in the world. You understand? And it is 138 out of 150 countries, you understand, we're not happy. So as a result of that, and the president talk about happiness. He talk about, we look at the manifesto and the vision of the SLPP. You understand? The president make it very clear, say very much concerned about justice, about employment, about the happiness of the people of this country.
All right, Marcus Bangura, continue for the with you now, the program executive director, Citizens Forum for Democratic Accountability. We will come back to you. The program Good Morning Salon, they continue.
We still get the Minister of Information and Communication. It can they talk on government behalf inside the program on the issue we get for burden around the fuel issues where the situation don't reach. So Usai it reached so as of yesterday, Usai will get sit-down strike by commercial motor drivers. Once again, I want to welcome the Minister of Information and Communication, Mohammed Rahman Uswari. Good morning, welcome to the program Good Morning Salon.
Thank you very much, Musa.
Yes, we dey inside the studio for talk about the fuel situation from government standpoint. What will make up of the entire situation before we look at the steps them we government don't take and the action so far?
Well, this is a very, very challenging times for governments around the world. Very challenging times for we government and indeed the people of Sierra Leone. You know, like I say, challenging times for the whole world because petroleum products, the oil and gas, the world over, people then depend on them. We get a shortage of supply, and so the basic economic principles, they say, we demand exceeds supply, prices go up. I hope some economics lecturer know they listen, economics teacher know they listen to me, but I still remember that one day. So this is not the context. I already my brother don't make very, very, very categorical statements and easy so from the flanco he did for talking and this, so your sisters are forgiving. So I want to share a few highlights then of what's in the happen around here. So,
yes, the question was, what in government make of the entire situation?
I delay my premise. You know, let me just get the opportunity. I mean, this is not also a public education forum. So now places like Zimbabwe, for example, where they go. Now places like Zimbabwe, for example, the fuel cost as much as $2.15 $53. Now Seychelles, it costs as much as $1.54, $1.54. Now Malawi, about $1.42. So we know even there amongst one of the most expensive in the country. This not because not to the same market to the buyer. Where they go buy, they're not the same as you come on, you country poor, you put them poor, let sell give you cheap. But government over the period don't be very, very considerate. I mean, I can say people can say now waiting go up no more the candle. Under this administration, we don't reduce prices of petroleum products 3 times. Anytime global market prices go up, we increase them, we candle, we reduce them. Simply because we know the waiting petroleum products. Alone know they do petroleum products. We na net importer. So having said that, you also see say His Excellency it don't show commitment for address this sector. I mean, one key commitment is the waiting government do about couple of years ago we don't abandon the Kisi oil jetty, for example, for the longest time before them born youth.
We can look at the steps them as I say
okay,
earlier.
so what begin talking now.
You make mention of other prices them around the world or Africa. Is it the government okay with the situation as it did with the prices?
But assessing a very challenging times. This government, more than any other in the history of a country, it put people there at the fore and center of everything we do. What we've been get COVID when have been very challenging times for the whole world, particularly for we as a country. We not sit down full arm and full foot to. President Bill put very practical, put a commission, an economic management team for put together what we call a quick action economic recovery program. Under that program, one of the key fundamental objectives was for make sure say we not run short of basic essential commodities. So while we been watch on social media, countries that they key up for essential commodities, sadly not ever key up because this not to sleepwalk into now because of deliberate strategic policy interventions. Number one.
So quickly,
through the central bank.
They can't talk about them policy then. But let we not skip this. You just don't make mention and give example of countries the cost of the fuel currently, and you go all the way to Zimbabwe, Seychelles, and you name other country. But I just bring you come to your Mano River Union Basin. If you carry go to Zimbabwe, let me just come to Liberia and Guinea, for example, where the young fuel as of yesterday have been. For Guinea, for example, I've been 10,000 francs, about 7,000 as Salonia. So
10,000 francs, 7,000. No, do the conversion again. I come Guinea a few days ago.
This now yesterday cost at the tell you, but Liberia, for example, they own $5.66 when I in the own Liberian dollar. Wait to make we own 15,000 as Salonia. If you want for compare the price to the whole of Africa, let me just level and first to the Mano River Union.
Low count to Guinea we could so. Now last week at the Guinea.
Then in last week, now yesterday you
expensive as last week.
Now yesterday you cost I just
put now they tell you so.
Me they be more expensive. Yesterday and last week price.
Last week now between 16 to 17,000 leons converted. I mean they now me buy out not to Google or reader not to anybody.
Yesterday
participants of the
me they tell you so. Yesterday.
So Guinea not cheap pass away. Let's get that one day.
Mr. Minister, they tell you say Guinea fuel currently for liter cheap pass Salonia. Why you think say you own facts for overseas million? When myself gets a reliable information from Guinea. Because somebody did the way, if you want, we can call and compare.
No, not somebody. Google, like, do exchange rate.
I don't need to Google, Mr. Minister. Okay, so why is Salonian cost the 15,000? I'm a question.
Well, I say expensive in Guinea pass here because I buy last week.
I'm not quoting waiting you experienced last week. Now yesterday.
They tell people
so why Salonian cost go day 15,000? I'm a question.
Establish a premise, then we'll move on to the next one. Me say I buy the last week.
Why Salon fuel na 15,000, Mr. Minister?
Oh, because government not they produce oil. You know, Marcos don't make don't call a barrel. It's in excess of $100. All lens in a fact. But what a fail for mention to the people of Sierra Leone say that crude oil they talk about. You understand? You go for refine, supply chain issues and storage issues and all the issues and now they talk about so. Now crude oil you talk about.
You examples them
even the country there what you manufacture because you not get a refinery, you go for go through all them process and import back. So this is the challenge. And can't add to Salo now. We know they produce crude oil. We know they refine now.
Just like
so
other countries and back in the sub-region.
So me don't say Guinea, I buy the last week.
Alright, continue for the return of the program. Good morning, Salon. The time from the studio clock. Now 8 o'clock, we get the Minister of Information and Communication at the studio. And also we get Marcos Bangura, a civil society advocate. We look at issues that don't happen this be in terms of public interest. The program Good Morning Salon, they continue 0779819819 the number we go send you message to and add your voice in the way we talk about Ogona we Radio Democracy 98.1 Facebook page. As today we look at issues them we don't happen this be in terms of public interest. Earlier we don't talk about the fuel situation, how it's like now the country currently as we get the Minister of Information and Communication Mohamed Rahman Soare, where they tell we waiting government they put in place for ensure say then cushion the burden on people especially now we na trying times for people all over the world for sick of the war in Ukraine and Russia because that don't affect different in them in the world, especially where campaign we get for do with fuel. And I come back to Marcos Bangura, when the executive director for Citizens Forum for Democratic Accountability. You don't make mention earlier of the concern where una forum gets, we get for do with the price for fuel. According to you, where they describe the whole situation where Salon people they go through right now, you say na a deplorable situation, and you begin to talk about the issue of fuel. For una think say government gets ways them where they go able for reduce the cost of fuel when na 15,000 leons right now na Salon. Waiting at the ways them where una think say possible for let government explore for reduce the cost of fuel currently?
Yeah, thank you very much. A very important question. But before I start the ball rolling on that, I want for just mention one thing in respect of the price of fuel. When you look at the sub-region, let's look at the Mano River Union. We'll look at the sub-region itself. I see my friend go too far. You go all the way to South Africa, you call the country like Seychelles. Such a country, now one of the poorest countries in the world, right? When you look at the fuel price now, Salon, it's higher than the 4 countries that will get in West Africa. Guinea, in particular, before the junta administration, have been 11,000 francs for liter, but the junta government makes sure they reduce that to 10,000 francs. So that was very, very good. Liberia, now the liter.
And that I state earlier.
That you state earlier. Liberia, now the same thing. If you look at in terms of dollar rates, we're about $1.30. Liberia, now $1.20. You understand? Meaning that we get the highest. Okay, governments, they say the crisis, of course, except who are blind or reluctant to accept the fact. But it's clear that the crisis now Ukraine don't really affect the prices of but let me limit it to Salon now as to how it affects the lives of the people of this country as well.
So before we limit it to Salon, the current fuel crisis, Sierra Leone, Guinea, and Liberia, all that in fuel hypers.
Sierra Leone hypers all.
Okay,
Sierra Leone hypers all.
1 minute, Mr. Minister, we can
say government gets the capacity. If you look at the Platts, the price per fuel in the first place, you find out say government, the price where government increase, right? That be old stock. Right, where there was already a Platts for it. But government come and increase them, you understand? For the old stock, then government increase. So as a result of that, a very inconsiderate, as far as me concerned, since I talk for the masses of the people, because I see, just like we, president in opposition, will see the masses and the way they may suffer, you understand? So if you look at the president, I say, Sierra Leoneans had already experienced hardship. So the increments in the price of fuel are added burden, you understand, so the existing, hardship they already face.
Now, you keep on saying governments get the capacity for reduce the fuel price. What are some of them capacities there?
Yes.
Also, and what are some of the measures them where you think the government will take for reduce the fuel price?
Okay. People usually they say not all governments they import fuel, which is very, very true. But now government they regulate fuel business in this country. If you look at all the press releases they come from the Petroleum Regulatory Agency, you understand? And it is a government agency, right? Established by an act of parliament through the central government. They work on behalf of government. So we don't want to see a press release coming from those petroleum dealers, say they increase the prices. You see the conflict right now where you get one reason for the strike that because the petroleum dealers they say they not include them, you understand, in the pricing of the fuel. So when you look at that, if you look at the Platts now, you look at the taxes, storage, for example. You look at transportation, you understand? You look at excise. You look at you look at the port itself. The money they will pay like $0.something when you put all that, and that they come from government. I initially state say government they make like 7,000 out of each liter. Understand? So what the government for do in this particular moment for manage the crisis? In the press release, I call on government for manage the crisis because of the capacity. Now, government just need for lower the prices. Imagine, just take into consideration, say prior to this term, government will subsidize, right? But because of IMF conditionalities, where government be want grants from the IMF, what happen? The IMF be able to influence the government, say, if we cut down on subvention, una get rid of the subvention, una go make more money, una go use for develop other areas. Yeah. So as a result of that, government stick on that. And this is a problem. If you look at the IMF, you look at the conditionalities. Now one thing where don't actually cripple countries in the world. You understand? So as a result of that, government just get for cut down on the taxes.
So for you, it not being good way government stop for subsidized fuel?
For me, it not been good way government stop for subsidized fuel. You know what to do? Because government, they subsidize for the general well-being of the people. Because as the price go up, now we the people they pay. Now you go to the market, even cassava list, the bunch, now 10,000 leones. You understand? You look at how people in the move from one place to another, right? Are they around Battle Street? Where me pikin they left it for can school just to Razak Junction also. It pay up to 4,000 or 3,000 leones. You understand?
Right.
You look at people from Lumley for Kenya, or for people that we work now at Talu. You understand? Then they pay up to them 20,000. Then you look at the prices them. You look at the salary. You understand? The minimum wage is about 600,000 leones.
Right.
You understand? And Sierra Leoneans, they live below the poverty line. When you put all that together, it's very difficult. So government get for look at the welfare of the people and lower the taxes. And once they do so, they can also lower the prices of fuel.
Continue for the between at the studio, Marcus Bangura. We will come back to you. The program Good Morning Salon, they continue.
We still get the Minister of Information and Communication, Mohammed Rahman Swari, there. They talk on the fuel issue. Mr. Minister, we talk about the prices now, but one thing we been lead, or one of the major reasons them for yesterday sit down strike, now the commercial drivers them, we need to get access to the diesel we they use, and even the petrol long queues then they waiting they happen from the government standpoint when it comes to the availability of the product itself, price away.
Okay, so a few takeaways from the conversation we don't get so far. Number one, law establish the fact say Salon not to produce petroleum products. Number two, law also understand say na buy what they buy like the rest of the world. So not a crude oil price would they benefit from where them bring then go for bring refined products now. Then go for get supply chain issues, then go for put on a ship bringer now, land there, then go for work the people there what they seller, get for do that. The oil marketers they don't they don't talk about her. They know they go buy her in leons. So all them challenges and they don't talk about her yesterday. I listened to one of them last week. I host Oren, Total, the new owners there, now press conference. And not raise all the issues here. But few things that are important. You know, His Excellency in commitment now for make sure say, at all times, let's allow people then able get access. Law also able afford them. When I see say during COVID, while they may queue up in other countries and for basic essential commodities, na Salon now will not queue up for nothing. Because we don't think through the process, we know say those will be challenging moments. Now make them along the quick actual economic recovery program. We been get pillar for ensure sustainable supply of basic commodities. The central bank give $50 million for importers there, so they will get a commercial window at a single interest, single digit interest rate. All lens in the before make sure say we cushion the impact. Again, don't forget say His Excellency be no say it will be very challenging times, particularly for people there. During the occasional, then half of lockdown what they do. They do direct cash transfers. For example, people living with disabilities. Now during that same period, they then give $1,309,000 to market. No, I just tell you,
Mr. Minister, I think now
I sell all recap. I can sell all recap the main items. I want can now to what you say.
I want put the program into context. The questions will they look at the fuel issues. You self-mention about affordability and accessibility. I ask you about the accessibility. It's not available at the market.
It's not peculiar to Sierra Leone. We better safe. Now India, you listen. Okay, we're not being a reporter today. The Indian CEO for Oren, the new.
We talk about
They talk saying the whole province is not get one drop fuel. I just come out Ken my boy yesterday. They accuse them, but they are not unmanageable. Wouldn't they get the little for go around?
What about what the commercial drivers that they use for transport people and we're not available in the country?
We are too historical. The good news is we don't get good quantity of fuel in the market. So in coming days, this is going to be history.
In coming
so
days,
we'll
like
talk
today
about
and tomorrow.
Today, going forward, yesterday, they distribute all over the place. So now we'll focus on that one. That's too historical.
It's because historical, but the damage already been done. Because somebody where they drive
when a group of people take it upon themselves for go attack motor car there, put passengers and down, that's lawlessness and the police don't commit or investigate and bring them to book.
Plenty.
That is lawlessness. If petroleum products not there, we agree it's a national problem, it's a challenge. Government, they do all in power for addressing. But in the midst of that, a group of Sierra Leoneans there, because of whatever reasons, not for go and get lawless, take the law into their own hands. In coming days, the police will not hear from the police.
They regard my question as historic. Will they talk about the living condition?
No, I don't want to spend all the time.
Will they talk about the living condition of the people? The situation now, while for reach at a point that it not go available and people no go about the normal business for fending daily living, we will lead to strike and destruction of properties.
You begin from the known to the unknown. What will be the school center so that they teach we? Now I make them do revision. You begin from the known to the unknown. I say what COVID strike now left sit down. President Bio and government they make sure say would they give direct cash transfers to people living with disability. Then people then they lockdown go affect them because they're not able to go fend their way.
So that's going to happen now.
They give market women. So all of them things they would consider for the poorest of the poor. This is a caring government. This is a compassionate government. I know that. So the need for talking that record is for I know say this is not a Hollywood movie. This is not. We are living in these times. So with a president who cares about his people.
Back to the cost of the fuel. Well, Marcus clearly bidon states, of course, the sub-region Salon get the highest cost per fuel business. And for then things say the government of Salon gets ways them we wanna go reduce the fuel costs. Before they can answer that question, the current 15,000 for fuel per liter, government realize it reflects down to pepper. Now market in cost we don't go up.
Well, the unfortunate say Sierra Leoneans we say now a very we quite callous to each other. Salon person and one person will like for take advantage of every situation. But not so that I want for say there is bound to be knock-on effect with petrol price go up to other things.
When but
what will take on the advantage is another matter. What will take on the advantage is another matter. So what is Marcus they talk about subsidies here and there. They berate the IMF and what have you. Yes, I mean that's na past na civil society space na the sound bites and na civil society. Well and good. So let's come to the reality of it. I mean subsidies. I mean history, reality, practice, analysis don't prove say for the most part, right? That the wealthy people then the wealthy segment of society that one they work for. Law will say government say. I mean, the 10 say wait, 12,000, 8,000, 12,000 government they subsidize. The big companies then go can't buy Boku and then government don't subsidize. Khadija, you use petrol Mabel, you use petrol now for your motorcar or your host. So you find out the greater bit of the subsidy. Now big companies there, manufacturing companies there, now there you don't do it. No, just a minute, lad, don't for God's sake. The essence of the whole subsidy now for let it cushion the impact of economic circumstances on ordinary people. So what do practical governments do in recent times? Then they look at vulnerable sections of society, then do quick impact interventions. They target them people directly. So you don't end up subsidizing big companies, mega manufacturing.
So removing the subsidy being good.
So we have subsidy. Well, yes, governments don't take wrong decisions.
So as
we can always look back. We can readjust if it's a mistake. But all over the world, subsidies not to in a way trendy.
So as
because it end up financing an unintended category of beneficiaries.
As it is now, any plan there for reduce the cost of fuel for at least let be like the one then at the sub-region, if not the same.
No. We have always said, no two circumstances are the same. When the import to Sierra Leone, it's different. You get now forex they take buy. All less circumstances like this man they quote crude oil price over $100 per barrel. Not so that what they talk about. They talk about refined products that they bring in here with all the supply chain thing. And when you really take goods bring in here, what's it they take back? Now like when you take a motoka, put passenger they go drop on your village. If other person know they can't, so that one person we don't bring that one way they for the most part without justifying it because me say they buy petrol for the most part, for the most part at the buy petrol. My family members and they buy petrol. That cheat system they they work. Now 40 gallons I get for work.
But when I realize the petrol in price, government
will target very vulnerable sections of society. Now then one and they subsidy the benefit instead of subsidizing the rich. Now another alternative policy they talking about that Marcus for the talk about. Then one and they will go be hardest hit by by their economic circumstances here.
Them big companies, them big companies them way they mention say if the government subsidize now then go benefits.
But you know that
the end activities get impact on the people. And so the products that they produce at the end.
This conversation, our law keeper.
So, Mr. Minister,
so you don't ready for keep the conversation on the field now?
No. What you want for talking that thing? You talk so in order Nabucco, in order
you don't ready for keep the conversation now?
So let's keep this conversation really civil and elevated.
So, Mr. Minister, now I dey ask possibility day for let government reduce the fuel price, being that now we get the highest in the sub-region.
Those are your words, not mine.
Now question
your words, not mine.
So
I not say government, because subsidy not a very trendy thing, government go do targeted interventions for cushioning the impact of very difficult economic times for people. They're not necessarily in fair circumstances. I mentioned so we get COVID. So
when they do that intervention, they
well, you hear from us again. That's why I'm still in employment. Whether they reach me, my deputy, or you go area from the appropriate authorities.
This week or next week?
You will hear from us.
Now, with all this crisis at the moment, what are some of government activities then around this issue for ensure say is solved?
Well, so like I say, not to today this thing begin. Not to today government begin solve this problem. You know, something that I've been talking. You stop me for talk about the Kisi oil jetty, for example, has been abandoned for long years, decades. What this president can, we want for further liberalize what's in the happen at the sector, open it up, what players can come in, one of them and then take over that place, the rehabilitator, repairer, they don't begin receive the first set of products there. This is a critical development we need for mention. What's in that mean? We don't increase with storage capacity in a salon now. So in the best of times, we'll get more petrol now. In moments like this, we will not be caught pants down. That's one good thing. So for the medium to long term, this is a solution we don't think about, which has not been here for over 20 or so years. So this is new direction.
If solution not get impact on the people,
they go get impact right now. They don't take delivery of a large stock of petroleum products. Then go flood the market in coming days. I'm reliably informed.
They reliably informed. This now one way somebody they out there don't they retail say but when they go to filling station, you're not available.
No. This is not about you. Inform one for informal people there.
They inform the people. It's not your point.
You are not aware of what I'm talking.
No, Mr. Marcos, please, Olande, Mr. Minister, now we dey moderate the program. I normally ask Marcos. Now we dey ask.
To be disrupting it.
No, now we
not disrupting.
Okay, so let's wrap up the issue of the fuel. We'll get to that thing for look at now. You say fuel done there now. When people go really see the line them for fuel done and the diesel, for example, will not been there, when they go really get another fuel station there?
No. So I not say what the drive na so. Yesterday where I go, then 2 days here. Yesterday where I come, where the pass. The queue be longer, it's getting shorter. So I shall say in coming days, then queue, then they go disappear.
All right, continue for the with the studio.
I'm not going to tell you say by midday, in our day.
Continue for the with the studio, Mr. Minister. We dey continue for look at issues. Yesterday, March 27, driver them been strike na Freetown because of the fuel, and driver them not they get fuel where the incident can go buy. Where this strike may affect people we been come out yesterday for going a different place them. We made them.
So the OMCs then been down looking to down there for and bring come new standards them way them motor carry and they then tanker them where they build them petroleum products them for meat. Then also then come with issues around the environmental impact assessment license fee where they pay every year. Some of the issues them not in them way we got for take time for engage with other MDs them and see how we will address them. The one way they between them and the OMC, we don't meet with them the OMCs them this afternoon. We don't try for see what we will do. And then with regards to the margin, government don't try for see how we will help even this tight space for see what we will do for make themselves take a message home to them various members them for show how serious government they for look into them matters
then get various concerns there with there. So how una plan for address them concerns then they and which one are the immediate one the way una don't address or una go address within the shortest possible time?
Well, the margin the first thing we them put to we don't consult with the OMCs. The story where dealers then give we it look slightly different from within the OMCs then tell we as part of waiting with the plan for doing for engage both parties more know waiting at some of the issues them and see how we will bring some fairness in waiting to happen between them two. but government trying to look at the possibility for appease the dealers then a little bit, because some of the things that we them come up with, we not just want to make them go, we're not able to talk to them. I mean, this now some of the things we government able to do. Once in a while, we then kind of come arise. We try to see how we find solution. This government so proactive that we not go and sit down. We all in there they be get impact on waiting they happen out there in the public. Want to make the people then we get motorcar them, we get under them, able get petrol, able go about the normal business. So I think that make government try to come up with that kind of solution. But with the other issues, then we get to do with the environmental impact license fee when they pay. I think we'll sit down and engage with the EPA, the Ministry of Environment, and see what we're able to do, or see how we go look into some of them concerns and the way they raise.
When we look at the fuel, we see people in the queue who get fuel, really.
We get petrol, diesel not been there, but diesel we don't get about 6,250 metric tons of diesel, and then don't distribute them. So you go even begin to say the queues them down, they reduce. All this while petrol then at them stations them. Some people then they will been they speculate say sometimes the price go up. Some man begin hard, but the PRA don't send a team where they go around for check the levels of fuel we the petrol stations and get. If we realize that you get sufficient and you don't want to sell, then we go invoke the law where then at the PRA Act for discipline them one, and they will decide for do them kind of thing.
Will they speculate any increase?
So, like I tell you, the war in Ukraine ain't really responsible for waiting don't be so, because Russia alone, where they supply about 20% of the global oil supply, and most of them where we know they bring come here, they come from Europe, and Europe tie with Russia. You realize say that kind of situation there where they happen there. We don't make the whole world don't pull Russia come up and the market business and the trade business we they happen at the entire world. Then sanctions they don't place on Russia, don't make we able to get the oil they come up from Russia, because most of the diesel actually when they come up from the Russian end. The dynamic you even see say the diesel get some small problem, but we too don't begin to, and the engagements that we get with other players, we look forward to some stability in the supply of the products them. But when it comes to price, that one they with the monitor look at everything that happen and how the platform they look like. If it happens say the platform can down for any reason, where maybe other oil marketing countries and able to supply enough fuel to the world market, I think so we will see a drop in price. But if the situation continue for get worse, the current time so, and then the platform go up, then we'll get for review the price back. But one make public understand say that in their way they happen not to government, they buy fuel for coming to the country. Now the OMCs and they buy fuel, and when they go out there, waiting they happen at the globe where every other country they suffer from. If you go even Ghana today, Ghana themselves, they push them price and go up. You go to every other country, that same thing that happen there.
Government they anticipate any for maybe subsidize that kind of thing they go happen.
Well, the subsidies don't they happen, and depend on which government will look at as one way appropriate. We don't give out boku revenue as far as petroleum products are concerned. Since last year October, we've been increased the petrol price long term, but because of governments, look at them. And look at the impact of COVID on the livelihoods of Sierra Leoneans, you see say we know they give up boku taxes when actually the subsidy one they talk. A couple of other things and they within the pricing formula we don't already give up. If you see they now 0.00. So subsidy is still there, but the fact is you go there subsidize still, you don't subsidize all the tax we're supposed to take. You don't even get anything for subsidizing.
Alright, well that's now Dr. Hinga Sandy, the Minister of Trade. We be talking that interview with Mange Mansari for Seka waiting come now the meeting where them be get yesterday with fuel dealer them for Seka the strike action where driver them be undertake yesterday. The program Good Morning Salon they continue.
We still get Marcus Bangra, Executive Director of Citizens Forum for Democratic Accountability, C4D. They inside the program they give civil society perspective on the fuel issue. Mr. Bangra, you don't talk about governments or the steps them we government for take for reduce the fuel price. Two keywords at play now: affordability and accessibility. plenty time we don't get from government fairly enough for sell and for reserve. But where people go now filling stations, them a lot of queues and even the diesel way that they use not readily available in the market as it is now. As civil society, what do you want to say that some of the reasons them for the long queues them and most filling stations then can close down?
Thank you very much. That's a very important question. Just that I just want to say one small thing in respect of the barrel of crude oil we have been talking about. Out of the crude oil, they get so many products out of crude oil. You understand? You get over 10 to 15 different products then out of crude oil. So out of that, you know, in whatever circumstances, we can as saloon, it can in a refined form. So being that the price for be cheaper. Okay, now in respect of accessibility and affordability, of course, where if you be listening during the campaign period, right, the government now in opposition, they talk about ensuring that there will be affordability of goods and services, understand, and also accessibility. And in any country, for me the country develop, right, the basic social amenities them for be affordable and for be accessible. Now, when we look at the aspects of fuel, of course, probably been deceived we, because if we gladly now say we don't get fuel long come, that it means say it was not true on the side of where they may talk say fuel be available, right? It means that fuel not being actually available, and now the fuel itself come. Now, in the press release, try for draw the attention of the government, say the scarcity, the artificial scarcity, right? And it is as a result of the fact of hoarding and also profiteering. You understand? So because of that, we expect government for intervene and fair way for salvage the situation. Because they come back to the same thing. Even who gets fuel now, they also think say there is a war going on in Ukraine and Russia. So as a result of that, the same panic will still continue. Thereby, it also make that is the people and the consumers, for also the TMAP accused for make sure say we fan fuel. You understand? What I try to say here is, we say we get fuel now, fuel long come. Understand? But when you look at the petroleum dealers, there was artificial scarcity that they make the product, the commodity scarce. They make it scarce because of the fear. Say the crisis no go done quick, so it will be difficult for come with fuel. So that make them make that kind of difficult time. The way make people go.
So for you, fairly enough.
I say the Petroleum Regulatory Agency Authority, right? They inform the people of Sierra Leone say fuel day enough. You understand? And now we see a press release. We say from government we say fuel long come, right? But I try to say we still resonate back to the same experience way we will talk, because as far as we continue for mention the Ukrainian-Russian war, you understand? It also means that the fear in they also continue. Thereby, we will still cling to the same way of still facing the fuel scarcity, even when fuel become.
This scarcity where you talk about gets anything to do with politics? I ask you this because we get a statement from the First Lady in the campaign, Akoya, say most of the filling stations then belong to the opposition. Is it, from your findings, the scarcity get anything to do with politics?
The scarcity, as far as I'm concerned, it not get anything to do with politics. So the First Lady mentioned that. Now, out of her own opinion, for which a questionable, I not believe in that. But that was a dangerous statement. It was a dangerous statement because supposing people then say the scarcity, the hardship, the increment of prices of all of that thing, as a result of them petroleum company, they attack them. You understand? If I don't degenerate to a serious situation, so the statement itself was a very dangerous one.
You think, say, the First Lady gets a personal opinion as policy maker, or somebody where they talk policy statements from the public eye?
Public opinion are the aggregate of views held by the public on a particular issue, right? Individual opinion, now the aggregate of views, not even an aggregate of views, that your view where you express, right? Just that as a First Lady, you got to be very careful of certain statements then. You understand? Okay. But we can't say ego by policy statement. It's not a policy statement, you understand? Just that it gets tendency for create.
It can be a public policy statement from the ordinary perspective, taken to in your status.
In your status, to me, right, of course, now in your statement we make, right? But it is not true. And an attempt for limit and day, you understand, is unacceptable. Right? So what's important now is for make we address the issue. The minister is doing well. He's trying to address the issue here. You understand? We're good. Rather than we take another route.
All right, Marcos, before we come to the minister, what you go recommend moving forward? You be earlier says Sierra Leoneans and then they're in a deplorable state right now. What you go recommend to governments as to waiting them for do for pull Sierra Leoneans and come on at the current crisis within the face?
In the press release, we say the increments of fuel are very inconsiderate, unjustifiable, and unacceptable. And governments, for ensure, we get what they call political accountability. Right? We look at accountability. That political accountability, now the ability where the people get for question government on the provision of basic social amenities.
So waiting for do now.
You understand? Eh? So when in that situation, right, governments for make sure say, as they stand on that, say, since government get the capacity, governments for just come in and reduce the prices of fuel. Fuel, they affect every aspect. Things that are so difficult at the moment. Price, no, the increments don't affect almost every aspect. For come here, for go back, very expensive. You understand? So as a result of that, government in basic function for provide basic social amenities for the people. And these governments, we don't promise, say, they will cater for the general well-being of the people. And for cater for the general well-being of people, that the fuel. Governments now they increase unnecessary taxes. And once it is increased, which it happen, it affects the ordinary man. So governments get for stand tall, for instance, say they come back to it and address the issue so that things will be fine.
Continue for the between the Council, the Minister of Information and Communication. Amidst all the discussions where we don't get this morning at the studio, now moving forward, now waiting at the quick fix them where government gets to the current situation, especially because where the fuel price they 15,000, so it don't boil down to cost of living where they go up for people. Waiting at the quick fix them.
First, we understand say again, let's start from Busa. We don't say we not produce petroleum products. Now buy the private players and they buy them. Refined form with all the supply chain management, ship for car, all ends in the where you come back to Nigeria. There are a lot of issues, employees there. They don't tell you this before. So government go continue for do what they don't do. And as a matter of fact, we don't do interventions and for make sure say we cushion the impact on the ordinary Sierra Leoneans. This is a government that truly and honestly cares. In the past few months, we don't do interventions. We don't cost government over 240 billion. Yes, yeah. In the past few months, just for make sure say the citizens do not feel the full brunt of what's in the happen. Yeah. So in taxes, government don't lost in excess of 99 billion, about 100 billion, all projected to be about 350 billion. Yeah, just like that. These are various interventions in the last couple of months. Yeah. Government not left with citizens then at the whims and caprices of oil marketers. So government they do interventions.
The intervention, yeah. How much can they reflect? Because hypothetically, if all you're gonna market now when I be 1,000, it don't go up.
Well, so yes, I know. Because what people then sell and potentially live and get the other thing there. Now that make this president, the holistic approach they bring to all things. Here is a country where we rely for most of the things that they use. We rely on imported commodities. So when we talk about agriculture, for example, now that the president been see we put in the manifesto say, look, we spend in excess of over $240 million every year for import rice alone with staple food. So we are saying, now we embrace agriculture. So what the president talk about in diversification portfolio, they talk about agriculture, tourism, and marine resources. Then areas and if we're able to generate enough revenue, we will cut down on importation of the NCND, right? So then policies don't pay off the day they do. But interestingly enough, and this president, we have to celebrate him for many reasons. So a couple of months ago, let's share this on public radio. A couple of months ago, before COVID, about a year ago, I traveled, we'll go part the launch of the Global Media Freedom Coalition, right, in London. I came by one of the Tanzanian ministers there. He tell me, say, oh yes, oh the chat. And I say, oh yes. He said, I know your country. He said, your former president used to come here. He and Mwalimu were friends. Mwalimu Nyerere, the founding father of Tanzania. So the part tell me, say, anytime that president in the East Africa, whether na Rwanda ago, whether na Uganda, whether na whosoever in the East Africa, they go na Tanzania, they go collect one rest day where that president say, be like the rest, Kiara rice. Is any of them country they go take that rest for car eat. You never take cancel or can plan to in the medium to long term, let's alone get self-sufficiency. So President Bill recently been there na Vietnam. Yeah? What he did, part of the thing, na expertise, technological support they ask for expertise, they ask for all kinds of, you know, say that rest where you go in Vietnam, like I want let the gear.
So this is how you build the nation. Plazas, rest and all things they go down at the market.
Well, so that one day we the left hand to the forces of demand and supply, and like what the president don't encourage it go also good. It not go be bad thing if we get to backyard garden as well at all times. Lord the do dancing in there. But before you cut me, I see one for making them point there. You say me go pon Zimbabwe. I want for Ghana, Ivory Coast, and Gambia. Ivory Coast, Ivory Coast na 19,000 leons. Gambia na 18,000 leons. Gambia na. So just for
as per government plan, when the cost of living they go down, where you take into consideration almost people they buy it
go like for all man fees, not so in the
factors and they way the result to that the fuel increments now one of that.
Law understand.
Factor
this country has a free market economy. Government they do subtle interventions for cushion impact on citizens.
So now that's how they
but this is not even at the West. Even in welfare states,
Mr. Minister,
welfare is don't get aboriginal. Welfare states they're not the all thing free.
So for salon level, now when we go see the cost of go down in the market.
I don't know how much they sell you on if they grow wow. Government not the grow petete leaf.
Government's not go grow petete leaf, but factor in the way they lead to the increment of prices.
Well, I don't tell you about the various interventions what government they already do. Yeah? I don't tell you government and they help oil marketing companies amongst other things with forex. Now forex now the international currency of trade. Because you know they go buy oil in leons. So they buy in forex. If you get a black market, it's more expensive. So government they come in for support them as far as we could.
Make we come back to the issue of the fuel. I see you price comparison now. We then price them expensive fast salon.
Yeah, but maybe I'll not say it not be right. Not to 7,000. Not to 7,000.
It's 10,000.
Yusuf no say the cost of the fuel in Liberia and Guinea salon get the highest. Yusuf no than they.
For give the people the wrong information.
Yusuf no than they.
No, it's 10,000.
I tell us it's 10,000.
How much does it become?
But they reduce them to 10.
Yeah, so I'm saying.
And that is what I stated.
Which government is that? That's a military regime, yeah?
So Mr. Minister, that could ask if possibility then a salon for let we self reduce with fuel price.
Bill decree. Last time I checked, we were a constitutional democracy, operating a free market economy. But if we, I don't understand that in the way.
So now we come again. I earlier ask you the issue of fuel day abundance. Now one way no new again to consumers them way they buy fuel. Going further, you they assure people say fuel available. Whose assurance now they give them going further say in the coming days them they no go stop long queue again for making them go get diesel.
Well, you don't listen to a more competent person. Now, I play on one of our slots there, Dr. Hinga Sandy, the Minister of Trade and Industry. Yesterday, he broker very good deals there. The OMC there and the fair dealers there, they may get an impasse. They don't amicably resolve it yesterday. And they said they're happy. They say they don't order all them for them for buy the fuel there and for sell there. That is a big win for the people of Sierra Leone. Because all waiting under the talk in coming days will not go to fail. As I talk to you, we'll get in excess of 15,000 metric tons here in country. I'll just check my notes and back because these are figures I don't necessarily carry them in my head. We'll get in excess of that. We'll get in excess of 7,000 metric tons in-house now, and I am assured by the Ministry of Finance and the Minister say government will continue to do whatever interventions they could do for ensure say in the very, very near future. Yeah, by tomorrow you wake up, petrol price don't go up. It will not be tomorrow. We will try whatever it is. So this government cares. Yeah. If you left out to the forces of Now them country are na Ivory Coast na 19,000. Gambia na 18,000.
So Mr. Why they take countries them way salon we gets expensive?
No, because we don't
salon.
misinform the people that say na
7,000. We don't
Mr. Minister, nobody got to misinform the public.
We said 10,000.
Even Marcos Nado agree say the sub-region salon get the highest cost of fuel.
Not saying the truth. Ivory Coast not
So
why you think so you say the truth? Why you say you say the truth for other countries? Wait, Pastor, 1 minute. Mr. Minister.
Ivory Coast is 19,000.
Mr. Minister.
Ivory Coast is 19,000.
So why you want?
Gambia is 18,000.
Marcos, 1 minute.
No,
1 minute, Marcos.
No, it's 7 0.
So, Mr. Minister, you want to let people agree say countries and they with fuel dear past salon, but you know how to accept say salon fuel dear na the
The
sub-region.
government in compassion, I don't say what can I?
So why not just compare and aside and where they don't hire?
No, bring them. What can I say? What we get a challenging period now during COVID. This government so compassionate say we do a lot of interventions for make sure say, the salon person will not left out to the whims of the market individuals. Government do that and for cushion the hardship on them. Aside instances, for example, the PWDs, the market women, and the Munafa will increase. Through NAXA, they do direct cash transfers, all lengths in the other before cushion the impact on them people here. More recently, you don't see government, they go out, or they give bosses there to schools there, we get physical challenge. School for the blind now, Miltimagai School for the blind, na Kabbalah, na Kono, all lengths in the other for make sure say they marginalize people and they cushion the impact of transportation and then challenges. And this government cares. So I want to leave Fambo on this note. Number one, law not forget say salon not to petroleum producing country would import everything what they use now, including petroleum products there. Not to government, the bringer, na individuals there. But I also want to tell say, where this don't happen, just like what government may do during COVID, government they get serious considerations there for make sure say we reduce the impact on ordinary people there.
Many thanks. We can at the studio this morning. That's the Minister of Information and Communication, Mohamed Rahman Swari. They talk about waiting government they do for pushing the burden on people for sake of the fuel challenge them we don't do them past week here. And also we've been get Marcos Bangra, Executive Director, Citizens Forum for Democratic Accountability. And I thank you at the studio this morning. Now this edition of the program go left on plenty. Thank you to the production team, Alex Lawrence Kurma and Michael Sambola produce the program. DJ Ahmad give technical support. Moses Kavura make on us on Facebook. So to meet again, maybe I'll say goodbye.
And Musa Kamara say bye bye.